There's probably no topic as divisive as politics or religion. And if you're a member of a free and open source project, you probably shouldn't be talking about politics or religion. But for some reason, the GNOME Foundation loves talking about politics especially. And here in the last few months, GNOME has really put itself out there in the forefront as being one of the most racist and divisive organizations in the free and open source communities. Now, recently, the GNOME Foundation posted this: "We must all speak up." And the post goes on to say that GNOME has long believed that the community is stronger with a diverse contributor base, that historically the free and open source software community has failed at engaging ethnic minorities, and specifically they mention the Black community, and they go on to state that GNOME stands firm with Black Lives Matter, and that the exclusion and prejudice that is faced by millions of Blacks and other ethnic minority communities throughout the world is something that GNOME takes a stand against. That is a really nice post there. I think most of us would agree that no one is for racism, sexism, discrimination in any way. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what they just posted, but it is kind of a slap in the face that this is coming from GNOME, because a few months back, GNOME posted their GNOME Code of Conduct, where basically they go on to say that they stand against racism and discrimination of any kind, sexism, gender discrimination, discrimination of age, body type, caste, citizenship, disability. You can read the whole list. You know, everybody is equal. But then you get down to the bottom of their code of conduct, and they felt the need that they needed to throw this in there. Quote, "The GNOME community prioritizes marginalized people's safety over privileged people's comfort. The committee will not act on complaints regarding reverse-isms, including reverse racism, reverse sexism, and cisphobia." So basically, the GNOME Code of Conduct says reverse racism doesn't exist, reverse sexism doesn't exist, cisphobia doesn't exist. So if you are white, do not come to us with a charge of racism. If you are male, do not come to us with a charge of sexism. And if you are cisgendered, you can't really come to us about anything. So basically, if you're a white, heterosexual male, you don't count, right? You cannot be discriminated against. We do not want to hear from you. That is GNOME's position. That is a very discriminatory position. That is the very definition of racist. And I called them out on this when they posted this code of conduct for the first time a few months back. Other Linux YouTubers also made videos condemning the actions of the GNOME Foundation. There were articles written about this, and still, this is still in their code of conduct. So I don't know how they can reconcile the fact that this is in their code of conduct, where they are basically promoting racist actions, and then we must all speak up, everyone's equal, everybody, we want a diverse contributor base. There is a disconnect here. I think the community really needs to take a hard look at the GNOME Foundation. I think more Linux distributions need to take a look at the GNOME Foundation and the GNOME project. And maybe if you're using the GNOME project as your desktop environment for your Linux distribution, you might want to distance yourself from GNOME, because I don't think many of those people that run those Linux distributions, if you're the main dev of a Linux distribution, I don't think you want to be associated with an organization that basically says that if you're white, male, and heterosexual, that you basically don't count to us, and that your concerns are not as important as people of color, women, and the LGBT community. If I scroll to the bottom of the page, you will see that the GNOME Online Code of Conduct is forked from an example policy from the Geek Feminism Wiki, which was created by the Ada Initiative. And Ada, we're talking about Coraline Ada Imke. She is the one that authored the controversial Contributors Covenant Code of Conduct that the Linux kernel team adopted a while back, and that caused quite a stir. Imke is very active in the free and open source community. She is a transgendered woman, and she is extremely political. and she is very active over on Twitter, and she is an absolute flamethrower. She is very hateful and insulting to a lot of people, especially if you happen to be white, male, and cisgendered. So she, it makes sense that the GNOME Foundation adopted some of that same language. So over on the GNOME subreddit, r/GNOME, there was this post. It was a repost of the "We Must All Speak Up" announcement. And that thread has been locked because it was a complete and total shit show. Because there were people that actually have the flair, GNOME Foundation, arguing with each other about whether the GNOME Foundation should be promoting things like the fact that they speak up and support Black Lives Matter. Some of them were going back to the Code of Conduct controversy, saying that they should not, have that kind of crap in their Code of Conduct. And you actually had GNOME Foundation members and GNOME developers arguing over some of this stuff, and some of them were saying just outrageous things. I'm talking about way over the top racist and derogatory things. And I just want to highlight one of them. This particular Redditor, he's not a GNOME Foundation member, but he was posting something here basically saying that open source development on the internet is likely as good as it gets because of the fact you're protected against discrimination regarding gender and race and everything because you're not actually dealing with people in person. Everything on the internet is kind of anonymous, right? And he has a point there. But then a GNOME Foundation member, Black Kane, had to respond to him, and in particular to that particular paragraph about open source development on the internet being kind of anonymous and you're really protected against discrimination. And he says, basically, no. He says, you are a white man. You know nothing about discrimination. It is simply an intellectual exercise for you, not a fact of life. So you are no one to lecture me, a person of color, or anyone else on what is or isn't a good system to protect against anyone. A GNOME Foundation member posted that. You're a white man. You know nothing about discrimination. It's simply an intellectual exercise for you. So if you're white, you can't be discriminated against. So if I'm white and I'm also Jewish, I can't be discriminated against. Or I'm white and I'm gay, I can't be discriminated against. Or if I'm white and I have a disability, or people that are white are discriminated against all the time. It's just so ignorant what these people are doing. And I don't know why this Code of Conduct is even on the GNOME website. They should delete this immediately. They should quit posting all this political BS. Really, what does this have to do with free and open source software? And if you are going to do something like this, be consistent. There was nothing wrong with this post here. We must all speak up. I think 100% everybody that reads that would absolutely agree with that. But how can you have that on your site? And then you have this GNOME Code of Conduct, which again says, we will not act on charges of discrimination if you are a person of privilege. There's just a real disconnect there. And I'm just ashamed that the free and open source communities have not taken a harder stand against GNOME, because quite frankly, they don't deserve the lofty position that they have in our community. They don't need to be the default desktop environment in distributions like Ubuntu or Fedora or the hundreds of other distributions that are tightly integrated and work closely with the GNOME project, because in a lot of ways, companies like Canonical and Red Hat, you guys are propping up GNOME. You're propping up this racist organization, this divisive, discriminatory organization. So many in the free and open source software community rushed out and just threw Linus Torvalds under a bus, and threw Richard Stallman under a bus, and threw Eric Raymond under a bus. But where are you guys on GNOME? An openly racist organization. They promote discrimination openly on their website. And I don't see any of you guys calling for GNOME's head. I don't see any of you hypocrites out there asking for GNOME to be canceled. So let me be the adult in the room. I am done with GNOME. I want no part of it. I will never install the GNOME desktop environment from this point forward, or any of their suite of apps. I will give it no coverage here on the channel. I obviously will not promote it. In fact, I will trash GNOME every chance I get here on the YouTube channel until somebody with some sense at the GNOME project removes that garbage from their code of conduct. Now, before I go, this episode was produced by Michael, Mitchell, Gabe, Pablo, Nate, Arch5530, Chris, Chuck, DJ, Donnie, Dylan, George, LibreQuest, Omri, Paul, Rob, Sean, Tobias, and Willie. These guys, they're the producers of the show. They're my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. The show is also brought to you by each and every one of these ladies and gentlemen. All these names you're seeing on the screen right now, this is all my supporters over on Patreon because this show is sponsored by you guys, the community. If you'd like to support my work, you'll find DistroTube over on Patreon. All right, guys. Peace.